Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I want to make one, I'm not going to be against you on this because I really enjoy fireworks, always have, we've always done it as a family back in Florida. I think the one thing that I'm concerned about is we're throwing more regulations and rules up on a shelf that we're not going to enforce. I like the permitted area to fire your fireworks. I think it's a nice, safe, controlled, safer controlled environment to fire in. But we're not going to police anywhere else. And what you're doing is bringing more fireworks into the community that you're not going to police. Whether they have the permit or not, if they want to shoot them at home, they're going to shoot them at home. Especially knowing that we're not going to police it. Because how can we police it? I think that's our biggest thing. So instead of throwing these rules up on a shelf and not being able to enforce them, shouldn't we try to figure out a way to not limit ourselves in that regard? Because if we're saying we're going to enforce it, something happens, we're liable at that point. We may not be liable for what's going on down here, but we're liable for something else.
Sure.
So I just think if we're going to do this, we cannot enforce not shooting where they're going to be. I think we should encourage shooting down here. But in our lingo, to say that we're going to say you cannot shoot these here puts us at a liability. Because we're bringing the fireworks in, we're permitting the fireworks.
Sure.
That's my only concern with it.
When the citizen is signing off, and let me say this, you guys know I'm incredibly humble. So whatever decision you all arrive at, you all are the deliberative body, of the village. You all make the decisions on behalf of the citizens of Sister Bay. So I'm still going to serve, in that awesome capacity with some energy and tenacity. I actually had a conversation with Terry Vogel, the sheriff, and I said, what is the enforcement capability like, and do we want to be in the business of enforcing? That's a question for you all. From my end, the administrative end, it's a fairly simple process. Having run a police department before, it's as simple as having a sheriff deputy come up and engage in enforcement. That enforcement action can be confiscation. That enforcement action can be a local ordinance violation and fining. It could be substantially more than that. Right now, possibly where there's some criminal activity depending on the quantity and what they're doing with them. Right, that is ultimately a decision that you all would have to make. And right now, you do nothing for enforcement. Right? So nothing essentially changes in that regard, to your point.
But then it's just that rule sitting up on a shelf that, and we have hundreds of them here. Why? I think that's just my biggest concern. If fireworks are going to be available, encourage them to shoot them in a safe or controlled environment. Let's encourage that, but to tell everybody else that they can't fire them or else, but it's just an empty threat. That's my only concern with that whole thing. As far as safety of fireworks, when you shoot fireworks, you're taking your own, that's your own concern. Your safety is your responsibility. In a controlled environment, it's our responsibility, of course. But, when you're using fireworks, you buy fireworks, you shoot fireworks, it's that person's responsibility.
So, if I understand what you're saying, if you turn around and you sell a permit, give a permit to somebody to buy the fireworks to shoot it off over there, if they turn around and shoot it off someplace else, that's their problem. All you're doing is allowing them a place to go shoot them in a safer environment. But if they choose to go shoot it off somewhere else, that's their choice. And if we do nothing here tonight, okay, you're still going to have fireworks being shot off like we do every year, regardless, because all the other places you can buy them, wherever. So,
but what's the nature of this? It's to hopefully bring a revenue stream into the
create an event.
And create an event. Who knows, maybe you'll have at 11 o'clock when that thing's done, you shoot off giant fireworks, it'll be awesome. But why are we going to limit ourselves to how and who we can sell to? I say, if you want to come in a nice family controlled environment, safer environment, to come shoot these fireworks, buy these permits. If you have this permit, you can come do it, but outside of that, who's to say? And I think Chris Heck would do a fine job of saying, if this place is too dry, let's not do it. And then, I mean, it's cut off. So I think there's safety precautions that are there. I mean, I can't say if one thing is better than the other, but I see it as, if we have ordinances that we can't enforce, what's the use of them? And we have a lot of those, and putting another one on a shelf isn't gonna do us any good. So that's my big concern with it. I think the fireworks thing is awesome, but why throw another ordinance on a shelf that we can't enforce?
Is it similar to a fishing license?
But DNR patrols, I mean, I think it's similar, but I don't think it's apples to apples.
No, it's not.
Because we don't have a policing agent.
This will have to be the sheriff's department who acts as our policing agency, engaging in enforcement of local ordinances, which is essentially a violation of our noise ordinance. That's what you're talking about. 18 point, sorry, I think it's 30.11.
I think it's more than the noise, though. I mean, I have no problem with noise. I also support the idea of an event, and I can see this turning into a family picnic, event. Have your family picnic at our sports complex, picnic facilities that we have, on the 4th of July weekend, and a controlled environment for fireworks. I'm all for that. I think that's an educational experience. I think it's something the families can get behind. To your point, when you say it's only a noise event, Section 22 of the code, you're talking about tents. And the first paragraph on that says, all materials that range from active and intense burning shall be utilized for process or stored only within completely enclosed buildings which have incombustible exterior walls and automatic fire extinguishing systems. That's the first paragraph of the code.
Right.
And a tent doesn't have a fire extinguisher, nor do I think half the businesses in Sister Bay that would be selling this would have combustible walls or things. So there's more than just a noise ordinance. You have to change your code to allow fireworks to be sold in a non-combustible building.
Yes, so the way that I wrote this is a temporary use. The tent is a temporary use, and so that would necessitate inspection by the fire chief of the temporary use. And at least in my experience, standard protocol is a water fire extinguisher on site and 2 ABC 5-pound fire extinguishers on site there at the location. But that's just best practice.
I agree with the
Yes, sir.
best practice. I'm just saying, because I was there when they put this, because we had somebody ask about selling fireworks at one of the country walk.
Yes, sir.
And the plan commission, which I was on at that time, put this code in place because they decided at that time as a body they did not want fireworks sales within the village of Sister Bay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what this is doing is allowing the business now to, and they've specifically put this wording in that code, okay, to prohibit that. And now what you're doing, even though it's a temporary permit, you're permitting a Sister Bay Village business in B1, B2, B3 to sell fireworks all year long. They can only let them off under permit.
No, they can only sell it 15 days.
15 days, but they could sell it on fireworks or 2 tent locations.
Right.
And that specifically is against that code, to one of your laws you're talking about.
The ones that are permanent locations, John, the way I've written this out, the way I intend it to be interpreted is that if they're in a permanent location, they have that suppression equipment in place. I made no changes to that portion of it. The only amendment that I made was to the temporary use section, which again, in a tent, you're in an outlying area away from a building, and so if there were to be some kind of an event, it wouldn't create substantial property damage. That was my thinking behind that, to get it away from structures. As I understand that some years ago when this issue came up, there was a residence at the place of sale.
Yeah, they wanted
place of sale.
They
So it
wanted
was
a
all
country walk
tied in
into
together.
it, where they're living on the premises as well as doing it, but.
Yes, sir.
But you still have a law that's written about having explosive proof.
Okay, so we need to pull this back together, because that's actually the next item. So we're only talking about exemptions of direct sales. Next item will be the 22. And that's why I'm afraid this is gonna go on forever. So we should just have a brief discussion on the item, open up the public hearing, and then do what we're doing the first one, move to the second one. Because the way it's agended, we have to do each of them individually, okay? So we'll hold discussion, recess discussion at the board. I'll now open up for a public hearing. The public hearing is now open concerning ordinance 222-041414 to amend and recreate sections of Chapter 18 for exemptions of direct sales. Can you explain the exemption of direct sales again?
Yes, sir. Essentially, this amendment would address the sale of fireworks by any person, organization, or company for a period not to exceed 15 days in connection with the Independence holiday of July the 4th. The Parks Committee recommended that only businesses or residents of Sister Bay be allowed to engage in the direct sales, and the number of direct sales tends to be limited to 2 in the village. Also, this and all of these that you'll see are established to sunset automatically in 1 year on April the 14th. So you all would have to revisit this after consideration of 1 year in use. The direct text is located in your packets as highlighted. Any direct seller that is a resident of Sister Bay or is a Sister Bay-based nonprofit organization or a Sister Bay-based business may sell fireworks as regulated under 167.1 of the Wisconsin Code for a period not to exceed 15 days around the Independence Day holiday of July 4th. These sales may only be conducted in the B1, B2, or B3 districts from a tent as defined in Chapter 66 with permission of the landowner in compliance with Chapter 22.205 in Chapter 66.0302. This provision shall automatically expire on April 14th, 2015. And again, this is direct sales and an exemption of, so businesses are not classified under this. This is specific to the tents that are in question.
Okay.
So you have to amend that section.
Does anybody want to make a comment? If you're going to make a comment, please specify your name and address, please.
8 Bell, 7, possible. 10-8 Bell, 10-7-8-5, Pheasant Court. I remember the plan commission discussion when we were talking about fireworks in the past. There wasn't a specific event involved. I think that's one of the big difference where we mentioned you can just stop the red rocket. We're actually providing a place for them to go. We're providing a place for them to do the right thing. Most people are going to try and do the right thing. We can't. I don't think we should worry about those who are not going to do the right thing, because you're only going to have a handful of people that didn't think about getting fireworks with the red rocket and not have a chance to make an impulse buy and shoot them off in the village.
Anybody else?
Well, being an adjacent property owner, Kurt Wilson, 2182 County Road, Easy. I don't have a problem with all for generating some income for the village as far as tourism goes. It helps. I don't have a problem with fines, whatever mess is generated will be cleaned up. Certainly wouldn't want to be liable for any of this. You know, with the fire department involved, we don't have a problem with fire protection, so my wife and I are certainly okay with it.
Thank you.
John McMurray, 1063 Forest Lane, Sister Bay. We used to live down the road from the Wiltses on County ZZ, and about 10 years ago there was the property next door rented to employees, and the employees decided to have a little fun at 2:30 in the morning, and we complained about the fireworks, and the neighbor across the street complained about the fireworks. The sheriff's department showed up at 9:30 the next morning. So there is no enforcement. I don't think anything's any better, but the police are probably constrained by trying to catch drunk drivers and things like that. There is one deputy on the road at night, so there's going to be no enforcement. So if you have a problem, you're on your own. The other thing is, if you're a pet owner who's never had an animal that is noise averse, it's a problem. We used to have a dog, 90 pounds plus. We used to have to tranquilize him, and that always didn't take effect. So maybe you wait an hour and a half or 2 hours for the pet to settle down and take a nap. That is not fun. And the dog park is right there. There are a lot of people in town who have pets. And we weren't the only ones who had problems with fireworks. And this goes on. 4th of July is one thing. But when it goes on for weeks like this might, I have a problem with that. And I think other pet owners would too.
Anybody else? Going once, going twice? All right, I'll now close the public hearing on ordinance 222-041414. Thank you. I'm now going to open a public hearing on ordinance 223-041414, which is to accept the recommendation of the fire chief amending and recreating sections of chapter 22 fire and explosive hazards as they relate to fireworks.
Read this section out and ask Chris to speak on it. As it reads, 22.205 fire and explosive hazards, amended to say all temporary uses involving flammable explosive material shall be inspected and approved by the Cisco Liberty Grove Fire Chief or designee. Section B strikes the word prohibited from line 7. Storage of flammable explosive material except as allowed by subsection C. Subsection C is amended in line 17 to restrict firecrackers, so they're not allowed for sale or use inside the village. And then the addition of a section E on line 25, the provisions of this section that regulate the storage and sale of fireworks as defined in 167.1 shall expire on April 14th, 2015, and fireworks shall be deemed no longer allowed for storage or sale. Chief Beck.
I'll go back. Zeke did a very good job of summarizing what got us to the point we are today. I was part of the plan commission meeting that John talked about where we put more restrictions in place for fireworks. Essentially, the village's stance prior to these changes was no fireworks, period, anywhere stored, used, or fired in the village. In an effort to at least bring the discussion forward and discuss the possibility of A, selling fireworks in the village, and B, giving people a regulated place and a cohesive place to put them, to set them off, we work together to put the changes that you see before you today. It still gives the fire department significant oversight of the storage, how they're stored, where they're used, and when they're used. For example, Zeke didn't really talk about it, but when he talks about his tenants, yes, he'll have fire extinguishers in there. The other thing he talked about is storage at night will be in locked steel containers, like big shipping containers and things like that. So they're contained when they're not being directly sold. Again, there is still significant oversight. The one thing that I did say, today was we should talk to the Wilties, and obviously they're here today. They spoke favorably of this. And the fire department does have the ability to cancel it in the event that it's dry. The event would be canceled. But in all honesty, we all know that if somebody has bought those fireworks and they cancel the event, they are going to set them off. In all honesty, and I don't mean to rain on Zeke's fireworks parade, but they start selling fireworks at the state line. And they don't stop until you're north of Sturgeon Bay. There's all kinds of opportunities. What we are creating is that impulse buy, or we're allowing that impulse buy. They are here. They're here all the time. He's exactly right. They start weeks before the 4th. They go for weeks after the 4th. There is no enforcement. If in my line of work, full-time line of work, I am on the radio all the time with the police department. They can't keep up. They simply don't have the time to enforce fireworks. They're not going to do it. They can't. They're understaffed. We know what it looks like on the 4th, and you're not going to be able to enforce that. I think that if we give them an event, hopefully, probably not so much the first year, but if it goes on, second, third year, hopefully we start to bring those people that have bought their fireworks in Illinois and have bought them, if they're not in Illinois, because they don't sell them, but in Milwaukee and Sturgeon Bay and Manitowoc and everywhere else, a place to bring their fireworks to do this maybe a little more safely. I don't know that this is really going to positively or negatively affect the amount of fireworks that are shot off in the community of Northern Door globally. It goes on all the time. What we are giving them is a place where hopefully they can bring their families and can do it under some supervision with some safety and make it a family event, and maybe we can bring some business to the village. To me, I look at it as two things, and potentially three issues you have to talk about. A, Zeke having a business in the village that the village has to support, supporting or slightly supporting. Two, the sale of fireworks in the village is a separate item. And three, do we want to provide a place to shoot the fireworks off? And to me, they could be considered completely separate items. There are a ton of fireworks in Golden Door, and selling them in one or two more places probably isn't going to change what you notice. Will they sell fireworks? Absolutely. The general public won't be able to tell the difference because they're going off all the time. As a fire department, we run on multiple fireworks related calls every year. It's the fact of the matter. We can say it's dry, we can ask them not to do what they're going to do. If they spend their money somewhere from here and where they started, they're going to shoot more. If we give them some place to do it, maybe it's a benefit. I don't do that.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing on ordinance 223-041414, sections of chapter 22, fire explosive hazards. We'll open the public hearing on ordinance 224-041414, amending and recreating sections of chapter 30, loud noises prohibited. Mr. Jackson.
Okay, so essentially this, if you look on page, I don't know what it is in the Zoom, I'm looking at a paper copy. Anyway, that creates a section 6, safe and sane, non-permitted fireworks is defined in Wisconsin statutes, section 167.1. Discharge in connection with the celebration of Independence Day, July the 4th, within the limits of the village of each year before 11 p.m. or other fireworks as defined in Wisconsin statutes, section 167.1, except firecrackers and/or displays as permitted by the village president or administrator in conjunction with a festival or event. This subsection 6 will automatically expire on April the 30th, 2015.
Okay, anybody want to make any comments on loud noises prohibited ordinance? I assume yours is going to be a ditto for this one, as your comment before. Anybody else? All right, I will close the public hearing on ordinance number 224-041414, loud noises prohibited. I have a question. Is 7
Number 8.
separate from 8?
7, yeah, go to 8.
Item number 8, public hearing, consider a motion to approve ordinance 226-041414, amending and recreating sections of chapter 66, which is use restrictions and temporary uses.
Okay, essentially, Planning Commission looked at this, 5-to-1 vote, recommended it to the board. This changes the number of temporary signs to 4, expands the number of square footage.
No, this isn't the signs.
No, number 8.
Right, restrictions and temporary uses.
Yep, I'm on,
Okay.
yep, okay. Adds a section 10, fireworks sales is regulated by other sections in the Sister Bay Code, chapter 18.33, chapter 22.205, and Wisconsin Code 167.1, from a tent not to exceed 40 foot by 60 foot with or without on-site keyed storage for no more than 15 days in the B1, B2, or B3 districts. No more than 2 such tents may operate within the village in connection with the Independence holiday of July the 4th. This provision shall automatically expire on April the 14th, 2015. To back that up, there's a typo. It should be with on-site keyed storage.
Anybody from the public care to make a comment on that? Anybody? We'll close the public hearing on ordinance 226-041414, sections of chapter 66, use restrictions and temporary uses. Okay. So now I'll reopen discussion at the board on each of the public hearings that we conducted. Okay, so we can talk about them all. I think Chief Heck was very succinct in saying you can differentiate this action into 3 separate issues. So, one issue is, do you want to allow selling fireworks in the village of Sister Bay, as defined as the Class C consumer fireworks? Okay. Issue 2 is, do you want to provide an event or a location where an individual could take fireworks, whether they purchase it here or purchase it someplace else, and with a permit issued by the village, go to the sports complex or its designated area and use it as an event. Okay. Item 3, I don't know if that's a board decision or not. I'd have to look at the employment contract, employment agreement.
So again, about
Item 3, whether the village
Me.
administrator would be allowed to sell fireworks in the village.
It is a you decision.
Okay.
Under the contract, but could be considered by the entire board.
Okay, well, okay, but you could go to Liberty Grove
Yes,
and under current zoning, set up and
Yes.
sell fireworks, correct?
yes. Essentially, I guess let me back up a step. In looking at this and talking about what the president is speaking on, we were required to have a public hearing only on item number 8. The rest of these I noticed for public hearing and held as public hearings because, number one, I wanted the public to be informed on what was going on, and number two, because of the perception there may be some conflict between myself and the position that I have in the village and what it is that is being proposed. So hope to promote some conversation. I'm glad to see there are some folks in attendance, especially about the dog park, and that there was some notice there. No, there is nothing that would preclude me from going out to Liberty Grove and doing this. However, what the board decides to do, because you all are my employers, you guys know how incredibly passionate I am about the career that I'm in. I wake up every morning and I go to work, and it never feels like work. So I know I'm doing the right thing. And whether or not I'm doing it to the ability you guys want me to or not, with all the construction and whatnot going on, is a whole other story. But I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I have. I would like to be able to sell fireworks. However, I know what my priorities are. And I have asked the village president about maintaining my businesses in North Carolina. He's given me permission to do so. That's something that's already going on. I would, and as we have the conversation, I talked to other administrators. I said, would you do this in your community? And I got mixed answers back. Some of them said, no, I'd go to another community and do it just because you don't have to deal with your own board. Some said, it's good to put down roots in your own community with your own board, making a decision about what it is that's going to take place. Whatever it is that you all decide, know that I completely respect each and every one of you and just appreciate the consideration thereof. Yeah, that's it. On item 3 anyway.
Okay. So where do we want to go?
I understand personally, I understand where Patrick's coming from and and part of that conversation was that Parks heard me saying I did not want to limit it to only one tent. That was part of the discussion, to say that, open it up for an additional tent. I don't want the whole line of them, but
Yes,
that
sir.
way there's competition. If somebody else wants to sell fireworks or do it, and we're not doing it just for you.
Yes, sir.
I personally, if we're going to do this at all, I don't really want to see you go to Liberty Grove and do it, or go outside of it. I'd rather be up front and keep that for here. And I've been championed since I've been on this board to get some event on July 4th. We're the only community in the entire northern door that does not have anything going on that ties in with the July 4th weekend. And everybody's here in captive and lodging and sending our restaurants, but we're always sending them somewhere else. And I'd rather keep them here. And so for that reason, with the idea of keeping them here and maybe developing this into a community, as Chris was talking about, or whatever, if we develop this into a educational and a place for families to go to light off their fireworks, and I don't care where they got them, but to light off their fireworks and do it in a safe and sound method, and create an event, I'm all for that. So that's my 2 cents for it.
So, question about that though. My understanding was that in order to light them off here, you're going to have to show a permit that line items what you purchased by an approved vendor, and you're only allowed to light those off. So the idea of everybody stopping at any of the 100 or so places, they are not allowed to light, based on the
Actually,
Well,
the way,
we had that discussion at Parks.
yes, sir, the way it would have to work, and again, I'm upfront about things. I will not do anything illegal. I try my best not to do anything immoral. Sometimes I fail at that one, but that's another issue. What would have to take place is someone would have to come into the village administrative offices or to the fire department, but Chris has said he doesn't want to be involved with that, and I actually agree with Chris, he keeps his hands nice and clean. They'd come into the admin office and they'd say, I want to purchase 4 bottle rockets, 3 mortars, whatever that is. We would issue them the permit at the village admin office for those things.
Right.
That's legal to do. Now, what they do with the permit after they leave us is to go buy those products, okay? What I would hope hasn't already happened is that they've already bought those products and that they're after the fact trying to clean up a legal issue. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
However-
And John's point
Well,
was, everybody's gonna bring it up. Now we're gonna promote this. So the question bears, who's paying to promote it? But then now we promote it that, hey, bring your fireworks here and shoot them off. That wasn't the intent of this. The intent of this was to keep the revenue local with Sister Bay residents selling them. It was to secure what was gonna be fired off, that we know it's an approved, legal, proper, safe product, and limit it again. Now we've completely lost more control. We can't enforce already, which is why we probably have 3 or 4 different things we'd have to change in order to allow this. And now we're gonna promote it openly that, hey, come here and shoot off your fireworks. If everybody just runs up with their bags of fireworks,
Well, as I understand the law, what Zeke is proposing is they'd have to have a permit, fireworks purchased in Sister Bay,
okay?
okay? 48 hours prior to the event. So if somebody came up from Illinois with a trunk load of fireworks, they did that regardless of what's going on up here, they're gonna shoot it off regardless. I don't know where they're gonna shoot it off. But the way it was discussed at Parks, unless they came 48 hours in advance and said, here, I have this fireworks.
Right.
No?
If they came 48 hours in advance and said, I'm gonna buy these
Buy the
fireworks.
fireworks, then they'd be able to do it. If not, then they couldn't, out there at the event.
The other thing is we're gonna grandfather, or we're not gonna grandfather, we're gonna sleep this in 1 year and revisit it, okay? But one of the things you may wanna think about is how do you capture those people? Because this year, it's a given that everybody's gonna come up to Sister Bay with trunk loads of fireworks. Okay, they're already gonna have them because they're not gonna know about it, and they know they can't get them here, and so they're coming up for vacation for the week. They probably already got them in their trunk. Okay, so maybe in the future, or even this year, we ought to think about if you want to do it in our controlled event, that you can buy a permit to use those fireworks that you brought in your trunk here. And so hopefully in the future, you know that you can buy those in Sister Bay and get your permit. But if you want to come out to the sports complex and set them off in a safe manner with supervision and everything for your kids and show them how to do it, that you can buy a permit to set them off during that night. You know, especially because they're already going to have them. So rather than say, don't do it, go somewhere else and do it, you might encourage them to come here and learn how to do it right, and you're building your event for the future.
Who is teaching them how to do it right? I'm
That's
pretty
just
sure
it.
Chris Heck said he does not want any part of that. As a village employee, I would tell you, do not, under any circumstances, take the stance that we're gonna teach you how to light off a firework, because some idiot is gonna do it wrong, or there's gonna be a mistake, and now you for sure are liable, because we said we're gonna teach you. We do not wanna be in that business, plain and simple. And you wanna give them a place, that's one thing. That's why I think the village should not, I just think we're setting a PR stance that we're okay with fireworks, even though we maybe or maybe aren't. We're then saying we're gonna give you this place and the fire department's gonna be there again if something happens. Even though we're saying we're not gonna do it, they're gonna say, hey, look, they said it's okay, they're selling permits, they're selling the fireworks, they've got the fire department there, something happened, they're liable. They gave us every right reason to do it, and we did it there. That's who we're going after. They got the deepest pockets, it's the village. That's what an attorney's gonna do. One kid gets hurt, the first thing the attorney's gonna look at, where was it? Public grounds, awesome. We got a municipality we can go after.
Or, just to speak on that, and these are the questions I ask our insurer. You know, how does this play out? What does this look like? In Wisconsin, which I love this about Wisconsin, this is a similar conversation to the one we have about TKH and the ice rink. kid gets cracked over the head with a hockey stick, who do they sue? They sue the person with the deepest pockets. Well, guess what? In Wisconsin, we're limited to $50,000 in liability, which is why we're able to afford insurance on all the events that we have. Because in another state, if we were to have open containers of alcohol out here for Fall Fest, right, the insurance would be phenomenal, because now there is no limit on the liability. We're limited under recreational immunity to $50,000. So to your point, do we want the kids to get hurt? Absolutely not. That's
No, and that wasn't my
completely-
point.
Yeah, completely counter to what it is. You're right, they will go after the people with the deepest pockets. They will come after the village, and our insurer steps up and says, this is the deal. Yeah, and that's why we have the insurer in the first place, is to.
Is there a way to get an indemnification from the firework sales? You want to sell these, now you're going to indemnify the village. So if somebody, you're issuing the permit, you're selling the fireworks.
As part of signing the permit.
Exactly.
Sign a
You sell the permit, you're on the hook. The village is out of this. They go to the village and they shoot them off, and now they want to come after somebody. Here's my indemnification. The village is out of the equation. Talk to the people that are selling them.
Yeah. The Attorney General's already made that statement. That's, and you can look it up online. The statement is that the village or the city or the town issuing the permit does not place liability on the municipality issuing the permit. There is no causality between the two.
Then you can, then print that on your permit.
Right.
What do we
Print
do
that,
with the guy
you
that comes
fact
in
it,
totally
you
intoxicated?
print that
and wants
exact
to shut these
statement
off?
on your
We're not gonna
permit.
police this.
This, part of this, Pam, was for me to be at the entrance, right, of the event, and to look at people as they're coming in. Part of the conversation with Chris Heck and I was no alcohol on site, period.
That's great, but what if they consume it, or what if they're consuming drugs before they come in? And it's also their attitude that they come in with. Who's gonna tell them to leave?
Pam, I got no problem telling somebody to leave.
And how are you gonna enforce it? If you can't?
Well,
Just ask.
Well, and then we have to determine, are you, if you're there as a village employee.
my
you know,
business ends on July 4th.
Right, so you wouldn't
Right.
be.
Yeah, I'm there as a
Which I think
village
is the
employee.
better option
Yeah.
is, but then you got this, again, this perception of,
Sure.
here's our village administrator there, and
Sure.
he's the,
I understand. Pat, I understand.
I'm really wrestling with this because I mean, I'm the last person that's going to want to try to stop anyone from developing a business, especially one that we think is going to help in the village. That being said, no matter how many regulations we look at here, I'm concerned that the perception is that this business requires the permitting, and the permitting is being given up to the same person that's probably going to be one of the main persons that has the business or is.
By law, only the president can sign permits or give permits.
So you're going to be signing
He
the
has
permits?
to sign permits.
Okay.
And that's the same, I mean, several years ago, I went out to, I won't mention names, to the then town chairman of Liberty Grove.
Yeah.
Because a couple of us had purchased some fireworks in Illinois and wanted to go out and fire them off on a shore property, which will remain nameless also. Okay? And so we looked into it, it had to be the town chair, or the president of the village, or the mayor of the city. Okay? And so I then went to the town chairman, and he spoke to, I think, Chris Heck, or I spoke to Chris at the time, had to show him the permit, give him the permit 24 hours or 48 hours prior to the event, did that, and then went out and fired off fireworks. Anybody can do that right now, if any of those people in those positions were so inclined to sign it off. So,
We probably issue 10 or 12 permits a year to the town of Liberty Grove, the fire department and the town of Liberty Grove work together to issue somewhere around a dozen a year.
so that does occur.
Okay.
And I have another question and this is for Chris, basically. Since you folks are gonna be there, who's gonna be, is that a voluntary basis that's coming out of your payroll? That is the busiest time of the year for you guys with a lot of hand injuries. How are you gonna stage that if you're working, going other places
It
too?
would be on a volunteer basis.
Okay.
And it would be, and I told Zeke, we talked about concessions and sharing out the lines, and I couldn't commit to anything until I knew what I had for volunteers, and until this passes through here, we've had some preliminary discussions, yeah, it would be purely on a volunteer basis.
Okay.
And yeah, if we had some other call, those volunteers may have to leave.
And then, okay. That was it for that. Thank you.
I think just on item number 2, which was just the event itself, I think it's a fantastic event. It can be an event that builds. I think it gives safer options for things that are already happening. I'm not saying the safest option, or it is safe, it's just a safer option for things that are already happening. But I do, as far as the event goes, I think the way the permitting is going is, it seems muddled. Because you have to buy the fireworks from a Sister Bay person in order to get a permit. I don't mind that as much as it's just confusing. So if you have fireworks, you need a permit to shoot them off, plain and simple. Here is a great place to go shoot them off with your family. And hey, if you don't have fireworks, come watch people shoot fireworks off. I mean, I think that's great, but as far as telling them you can do it here but nowhere else, but you're inviting fireworks into the community, it's not gonna work. Because you're creating a policing issue where there's already a policing issue. You're never gonna be able to control it.
You said something totally different. Let me clarify. Do you have to have a permit 48 hours in advance regardless?
2 days. Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody came into town and said, can I get a permit because I want to go out and use a sports complex? Does it have to be tied to the sale of fireworks someplace?
It is a purchase permit and technically a transport permit. Right, so that's what it is.
So the state code is, you're getting the permit to allow you to purchase the items.
And then use, correct. That's the,
So do you get that, do you sign that when you purchase it in Manitowoc? Do you sign a permit that you know,
When
I'm
I'm going
purchasing and
online-
I'm using these?
Well, actually, you do.
yeah, when I've gone online and I've looked, they range in price, but, well, $17 seems to be the norm. I've seen them where they're no charge for the big cities, $17. And
Permit is to light off fireworks that you're buying.
Permit is to purchase and
Permit
then
is to
shoot.
buy them.
And they also can require, for example, that proof of homeowner's insurance be shown at the time of the purchase.
So all these roadside fireworks stands for 4th of July make you pay and hold and
They are operating,
buy
I
a
don't know how
permit?
they're operating.
It depends
John.
on what they're selling.
Okay. Now, here's the other distinction. You can sell to an Illinois resident all day long. No permit, no nothing. You can sell to a Minnesota resident all day long. No permit, no nothing. Because the idea is they're purchasing them for a 12-hour window to haul them out of the state. And that's how you guys have them here. In North Carolina, sale of, we're just going to commonly refer to it as the good stuff, is completely banned. And so customers walk into my location and say, do you have mortars? No. Do you have rockets? No. Do you have Roman candles? No. Okay, I'll see you later. Because 2.5 hours later, they can be at the South Carolina border, they buy them, they turn around, they come back. That's what takes place every year.
So when you come up in Racine, Kenosha, the area's right there, you pull into those places, and as a Wisconsin resident, you can buy whatever fireworks you happen to have. But you need to sign a permit that says you're transferring out of the state within 12 hours. Now, to Shane's point, how do they police it? You actually left the state in 12 hours and dumped the fireworks off someplace. They don't, they can't. It ends up coming up here or wherever, or home, wherever they're going with it.
It's a bad code.
Right.
And the fact that you all don't even define safe and sane fireworks as fireworks, I think is a bad practice in general. It don't have anything to do with the state code. It is what it is. This is how this process can move forward here.
But
I'm wrestling with, I'm sorry, go ahead if you're.
I just, back to John's point, if somebody came up here with fireworks from someplace else, if they walked into wherever and asked for a permit, what they're asking for is a permit to purchase fireworks. Now, if you give it to them, they turn around and walk out the door, you have no idea where they're going to buy it, or if they already bought it and it's in their trunk, and they're just covering their butts so they can go out and use it at the sports complex. There's no way of knowing that.
Well, except that at the Plan Commission, it was proposed that it was gonna be line
It
item
has to
on
be
the
item
permit.
specific.
So you were not gonna get a permit unless on that permit, it disclosed what exactly you purchased. You can't come in and say, I just want a permit, and I got $500 worth of stuff in my trunk.
What they do is they
Doesn't
come in
work.
and say, I've got a permit and I've got 42 bottle rockets and 3 mortars, and you get the permit for that, and then they go on their way. Again,
Nobody looks at it anyway, to your point. We just-
I mean, as a revenue stream for the village, to shoot fire, or to purchase fireworks in the village for a $5 fee, I'm okay with that, but the biggest issue that I'm having with is you're saying we're gonna police something that we have no possibility of policing. Why?
We're not policing it, we can't.
But I guess then why the language?
None of this, Shane, as it is, you all aren't policing at all. All of this is surrounding,
But we don't have an event that encourages it now.
okay,
Now we have an event that encourages it, now we have a responsibility to the community. So I think we gotta take one stance or the other. Fireworks are good, fireworks are bad. That's the stance we need to take. So we need to say yes or no. I don't think we can play in the middle. We
Sure.
can't.
It's one of the three, either you allow fireworks sale in the village or you don't. If you don't
Exactly.
do that, then the other two items are moved.
Correct. So I think that's why I wanted to go to number 2, because either we're a fireworks community or we're not. I mean, the village either wants fireworks or does not. And I think that's the only 2 directions we can go. And if they do, then we can move on to the other one. So that's my biggest concern with it, because the way that I read it is it's kind of right in the middle. We like fireworks, but only here. Everywhere else, they're bad. How are you gonna do that when you're selling in the community? So I say, we like them or we don't.
Even though you're supposed to be 18, you know, as Zeke said, the type of people that are attracted to these are gonna be under 18, will be doing them in other places. They're gonna find a means to secure these, and they won't be firing them there, because unless they've got a guardian to go with them, they're gonna be doing it other places.
Well, I think that's too broad of a generalization, because I love fireworks and I would do it legally. But I think you're right, there are people that would do that, but they're doing it already.
But don't you think there's gonna be more if now, rather than having to get in the car and go however far you have to go, I don't know, but now you can get on their bike or get the hold of the neighbor, hey, look, I'll buy yours if you buy mine. I mean, I know how this goes if you're in that.
I mean, I've seen it.
you gotta have an 18-year-old, period. 18-year-old has to be, if they're old enough to carry a rifle around for the country and take a bullet, you have to
Oh,
trust them.
I
to
understand.
make the right
What I'm
decision,
saying is,
or whatever that is.
my 14-year-old and his buddies, or one of his
Oh, I
buddies,
can picture it.
who I can envision is
Right.
gonna find a way to get these, and they got no interest in going here. It's, I got 80 acres over here, and we're gonna go blow up
Right.
dolls and whatever else they wanna blow, bottles and whatever else with them.
Well,
And that's where somebody's gonna get
I
hurt.
guess-
Well, it's because we're selling them here that happened there. It's to Shane's point, are we pro-fireworks or are we anti-fireworks?
I think that's just the decision we have to make as a board is yes to fireworks or no to fireworks, and then we can go from there. Because if the village and our residents say no to fireworks, and we're the representatives of who they are. If we say no to fireworks, then what's this discussion about?
My question back would be, how do we plan on enforcing? If we say no to fireworks, do we call the sheriff and the patrol that we have up here on July the 4th, have them issue citations against?
Not
I think it
allowed.
stays status quo.
And they're not.
Right,
That's
I mean,
just it.
we already do say no to fireworks.
Right, that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
that's what it is, yeah, we say no. If you say yes, there will be more people will be angered because I don't know, I'm in the, I mean, yes, there are still before and after, I think there's gonna be more. You know, it's supply and demand. If there's more supply, I think you're gonna see more go off. And it could be a good thing if they do go to the park and that's where it is, so be it.
I'm just not sure
Teenagers aren't
how
gonna.
well we can manage the risk, and what are we actually creating over the long haul. The first year or two, before it's known, it's one thing, but it's almost like Madison's Halloween party, you know? I mean, it got to the point where it just got so out of hand, and there wasn't any way to manage that. And I don't want to be negative about it, but if we don't have a way to manage that risk effectively, what are we inviting in, and how do we stop it if it gets beyond where we need it to go? One of the things we're doing is we're creating an event. It's a family event, but you have to be 18. That
be 18
doesn't
to
make any
purchase.
sense.
Well,
To purchase it. But the reason that you have to purchase at 18 is because by 18, you could take a bullet, you can be responsible for shooting them off, et cetera. Hopefully, you can also be responsible for monitoring a minor, but we're not saying that that's the case either. So we're creating a family event, but we're limiting it effectively to people who are 18 and older. And then we're saying, well, then go find something else to do if you're under 18, which is potentially something that's not as constructive. Maybe we need to take a step back, like we did with Fall Fest, and say, let's stop focusing on the drinking and let's focus on making this a family event. Well, what is a family event? It may include fireworks, but what else is going on as well? And let's maybe take a step back and say, we want a family event for the 4th of July. We'd like to hold it at the sports complex. Let's visit what that is, instead of it being the tail wagging the dog here.
Good point.
Because how much money does it really generate for the village itself as well? That's another.
Well, if we,
I mean, I understand wanting to draw people in, but I don't think this is the draw. I think we need to create another family event.
And
this is
fireworks
opening
could be
us up.
part of it.
Yeah.
That's okay, but let's not make that the only focus when it's so limiting. And it also has some serious potential downsides that, as much as we could say that there's a very small percentage for that, if that downside hits and we promoted it, what are we really doing? So I would say, I'd like to take a step back and say, what kind of family events do we want to have for the 4th of July? Maybe at the sports complex, and visit fireworks as being part of that, perhaps. But what else is there too? Or are we going to use fireworks as a draw when we don't really want to use fireworks as a draw because you have to have a permit? You're already limiting how many people can participate, and we don't really want to limit who's participating in the 4th of July either.
Anybody else?
And my last thing is, I keep hearing, well, they're going to do it anyway, so let's make it. Well, does that mean we're tacitly endorsing something that really we don't want to endorse? If we'd like, to Shane's point, if they're going to do it anyway means it's okay to do it, fine, but is it or isn't it okay to do it? I am conflicted about that, but
Let me back up for a second.
tell.
The original idea behind this whole thing was to try and create an event, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the long and short of it, was to try and create an event around the 4th of July because Sister Bay doesn't do anything else like other communities do. And so it was to try and come up with a different way of doing something, and then the fireworks idea came up. That's where it came from. So that's all it was to try and come up with an event. If this isn't the event, then fine, we move on, come up with a different event later on. Okay?
And I'm all for another event, particularly around the 4th of July, even maybe including fireworks. I'm not sure this is the one in this way, so.
I'm agreeing with that, too.
Okay.
It may not be the
So
way.
what we're going to need is, since we've had 5 public hearings, about 5 ordinances and 2 codes, because we're going to need a motion or motions to encompass what we want to do, yea or nay, with the changes in the proposed codes and ordinances. And you can do it in one motion.
I would like, all right, here, I don't even know how you
will
do this
make
in one, in all 5 in one, but I'll try. I'd like to suggest or propose that we go back and revisit having some sort of an event on the 4th of July that is family-oriented, that may include multiple types of activities. We're not going to limit or endorse fireworks particularly at this event right now. Let's just start over with.
Okay, so we can put that under item 14.
That was kind of wordy.
Referred to a committee discussion, future agenda, or whatever. Okay.
I'll second it.
That's not a motion. That's what I'm saying. That discussion could go on item 14.
Yeah.
Discussion matters to be placed on a future agenda referred to a committee, official, or employee.
To be blunt, what you need is a motion either to accept these as presented. You need a motion to amend these in some fashion and accept them as amended, or you need a motion to deny these
As
outright,
presented.
as presented.
And that would cover item, the numbers
4, 5, 6,
and 8.
and 8. Yep.
5, 6, and 8.
4, 5, 6, and 8.
Yep.
Okay, nobody wants to make the motion, I'll make the
I-
motion.
Guys, don't be
I'll
afraid
make
to
the
hurt my
motion,
feelings.
I'll make the motion to deny
Okay.
items 4, 5, 6, and 8 and revisit them in 1 year. Can I do that?
No.
What
No,
can I do?
not in a year.
No,
Just
revisit.
deny.
Refer
Just
to
deny.
item 14
Okay, refer to
to a committee,
replace,
let's say the Parks Committee,
and refer them to the park.
review, to come up with a different type of activity or event for 4th of July that
Thank
may
you.
or may not include fireworks.
You finished my sentence for me, right?
I thought that's what you were going to say.
Okay. Okay, I would like to make a motion to deny items 4, 5, 6, and 8 and refer them to the Parks Committee for a future meeting,
Future investigation.
future investigation.
I'll second that.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Last hurrah.
So you want all this, even though you shot it down all the way through.
Motion that agenda item numbers 4, 5, 6, and 8 shall be denied, but the matter shall be referred to the Parks Committee for further study and investigation.
No,
No?
no.
Okay, so what is it?
No, you're talking about the item's gonna be further study for that, it was,
For future.
These motions were denied.
Yes.
Okay, be denied.
These items were denied as presented.
Okay, as presented.
But what was
What that-
referred to the Parks Committee is to continue to evaluate a potential event.
for the 4th of
For the
July.
4th of
4th
July.
of July.
Okay.
Right, Pam?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah, which may or may not include
Okay,
fireworks.
may or
We're not-
may
Which may, yeah,
Committee shall
may or may not include fireworks.
be a potential event Okay, so, that agenda items 4, 5, 6, and 8 shall be denied as presented. The Parks Committee shall investigate a potential event which may or may not include fireworks to be conducted around the 4th of July.
Okay, 5-minute recess. Thank you. Back in session at 8:45 PM. Item number,
7?
8. Oh, I'm sorry, 7.
23rd.
discussion and public hearing, consider a motion to approve ordinance 225-04-1414, amending and recreating sections of chapter 66, other, on and off premises signs with a permit.
Yep, so we'll make it really fast.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is have the administrator give his report, then I'll move directly to an open hearing, and then we'll come back to the board discussion.
Okay, essentially, we've got a number of businesses that, as a result of the DOT project, the utility project, and every other project we've got going on, are gonna have major issues with their signage. And effectively, we need to come up with some way to keep them in compliance and legal. So we took this to Planning Commission, went to public hearing, and after coming back from public hearing, this is what Planning Commission recommended. This was based on language that I crafted. Essentially, we're going to look at long duration special event and fundraising signage as applying to the time period around the Bayshore Drive project. So we're going to have the provisions of section 66.0722 be allowed for an unlimited number of days during the Bayshore Drive reconstruction project. And this subsection 1 shall automatically expire on May 25th, 2016, or the completion of the Bayshore Drive project as determined by the village administrator, whichever occurs first.
So we would allow all businesses in the village to use the temporary signage available to them.
Yes.
Under temporary use permits.
Right.
During the entire time of construction.
Yes.
Or as determined otherwise by.
Village administrator. Plan commission recommended we waive the fee for this during this time period, so that, and an example, this would be like Kelstrom Ray. Their sign currently sits on the right of way. They're gonna have to take that sign down. Under your current code of ordinances, what they'd have to do is take the sign down, come before the plan commission, get a sign permit, put the sign back up, fully remount it, and then that may or may not be where they want it after it's all said and done. So what this will allow them to do is take the sign down, put it on skids, sit it out in the yard, let it sit there as a long duration special event during the construction period, and after the construction period is done, restoration's taking place, they can then come back and put their sign.
Okay, so give me an example with a business that doesn't have a sign that has to be removed from the right of way.
Okay.
What additional signage can they do or use?
You would be able to, let's go through the list of temporary use of banners, balloons, inflatable signs, streamers, pennants, and other similar signage used for special events or fundraisings and other advertising purposes. So an example of this would be behind Gage, putting a sign up that says parking this way, which is one of the things that DOT does as part of it, so we're in this together program. Another example would be, and I interpreted it this way, when there was a 6-foot snowbank in front of Secondhand Sue's. She asked, can we put up a sign that just says,
Put a snowman on top of the snow.
Secondhand Sue's open, right? And it was a small sign, so I took this code section and said, yeah, we need to be lax during this utility project, because typically they would put that snow somewhere else. They'd handle it
As
somewhere
an
else.
example, I think what we should do is we have businesses that want to open that can't open until we get surfacing, that are probably there. We have a driveway, we have Gage for parking, and we have the Grassies with the driveway right there. I think we ought to turn around and remove the rock between our village parking lot by the Helms and that little berm there, and put a driveway that goes right through it, and put a sign up that directs them, so for all the businesses there, whether it be Cookie Lady and Grassies or whatever, it says parking, for downtown businesses right here, and they turn right there, and go right straight through Grassies, and either park in Grassies parking lot, or go right straight through to our village parking lot, and now they're on their detour going back out around, when they get out of there, but they can go to the Cookie Lady, they can go to Grassies, they can go to the Spot, they can go to Husby's. They go
So
all,
under this ordinance change that you're
And that was
talking
allowed.
about, does it allow for that kind of signage?
Yes,
Does it allow for banners?
yes,
Does it allow for balloons, flags, etc.?
yes.
Okay, so we're saying that all of that type of use, that all businesses in the village would be allowed to use that
During the Bay Shore Drive
during
project.
the, okay.
So
they can-
How?
Right
how
now,
is
they
that
currently
going-
can do it for 45 days.
Okay, but how, okay. So a business could put up a bunch of flags, put some banners up, could put some balloons up. I'm just asking.
And the wacky inflatable flying arm, man.
What color?
Hopefully,
exactly.
Does whatever they put up have to be on their own property?
This is on or off-premise signs with permits. They shall require a permit and shall not exceed 24 feet in area on one side or 48 square feet on all sides.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there's a size
see the
limit,
wheels turning.
area limit.
I knew it was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
No hot air
Okay,
balloon.
and this also would allow off, okay, but this would also allow
Off-premises.
off-premises sign for direction purposes like you're talking about.
right.
Yes.
Well, we need to do something. I mean,
Sure.
Of course, right.
I mean,
So that this is the attempt to do that.
yeah, I mean, and get these guys and say, you guys, you're gonna be closed for the next month waiting for the parking out front, so open up now.
We're
and
gonna waive
let's put
the
it through.
permit fee for this.
Yes.
For any
Yes.
business that wants to do it.
Yeah, put an arrow
So,
and
But it wouldn't allow something like, that looks like a billboard, which is a mile away, or
You're limited to size
6
on
feet.
this.
4 by 6.
what about just,
24 square feet.
But they can put it anywhere.
It specifically says it can't create a,
If you can get permission
hazard
from
to
another
vision.
Yeah, you probably gotta
property
get,
to put it somewhere.
right, the permission of
Yeah.
the property owner
so
if
if
it's
Dave
not.
says, yeah, you can put it on my,
Well, it's exactly what John is talking about,
Yeah.
the business he's
I'll
talking
give you an
about.
example. Northern Door Children's Center does one not on their premise. It's an off-premise sign. They do it under this code section. It's part of the fundraiser they do every year. And they do it for about a month. And they have to come in and get a permit for that. It's a banner that they hang up.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the changes recommended for ordinance 225-0414.
I know you don't have anybody here, but you gotta open
Oh,
for
that's
public
right.
hearing and then
Sorry,
close for public
sorry.
hearing.
I did exactly what I said
Yep,
I
yep,
would.
yep, yep, it's okay.
Open and close it.
Okay, so we're going to recess this discussion for a moment, open the public hearing. On item 7, ordinance 225-041414, recreating section of chapter 66, on and off premises signs with permit to be waived, dollars to be waived. Does anybody care to speak? Nora?
I guess just one question, would it apply to just the construction area? Or
No.
would it-
The entire village.
The entire
So,
village
yeah,
of
but if
Sister Beth.
the Coach Light or
Yep.
Day or somebody wanted to put it up.
The
Entire
zoning
village of
code
Sister Beth.
applies to the entire village of Sister Beth. This applies to every business in Sister Beth.
Yes.
We want to advertise.
Yeah.
To encourage them.
Because I know that
We have a meeting.
other than just the businesses downtown are also being greatly affected by the construction issue.
Yeah, I have a number of people that call and will say,
right.
well, are you in the construction area?
DOT will be having a meeting with SBAA members, and this is the time at which I'm gonna bring this up to them, as part of that signage issue. As I coordinate with DOT wants us to have control over the signage and really take the lead on signage. So again, that's the opportunity to disseminate this to the business community. Say, look, if you need a sign, if you need to do whatever that is, this is the opportunity to do that.
Anybody else? Okay, I'd like to close the public hearing. Now, come back into session as the board. I would like to make a motion that we approve as presented the recommended ordinance number 225-041414, amending and recreating sections of chapter 66 on and off premise, other on and off premises signs with permit. With the understanding that the permit fee be waived.
I will second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, I'll draw my limits.
Okay. Number 10, consider a recommendation of the Plan Commission to approve ordinance 227-041414, an amended development agreement with properties of Sister Bay, i.e. Wild Tomato.
Okay, so fairly quick, Wild Tomato came in, they'd like to do a phasing of their project. Phase 1 being to tear down the most northerly portion of the building and salvage the siding off of it, place that siding back on the northern exposed surface of the existing building, open that section of the building as a restaurant, come back a year later, add on the final phase, phase 2, which is what they originally presented to Plan Commission and to you all, and be open for business as the Wild Tomato. They have some concerns about the construction period and about sort of their ability to float that investment with
Cash
questionable
flow.
traffic flow.
So in essence, this allows them to open up, generate some revenue, gives them time to deal with all the architectural and foundation problems that they have
Yep.
on the section that they're going to take down, that they can't do what they want to do anyway until that occurs.
Correct.
And this would tie them into doing it within a certain period of time? I mean, so
Yes.
they can't end up just,
They're limited to 2 consecutive Mays, and I did put in here a total time period of 36 months, just to overarch it, but it clearly states in there, May
2016.
May 22nd, 2016. That phase 2 completed.
And this will include anything that needs to be,
In the small part, gift shop.
this will include anything that needs to be buried or trenched or anything like that
This
that might
is,
mess
per
up the
existing, their
finished
development agreement, they have to
sidewalks.
comply with all those other things, which was already in there in the first one that we did.
Okay.
Yeah. Burial of overhead.
And they were gonna grass the area that they demo.
Yes.
That was my concern, are we gonna have a yellow thing with rubble and whatever else? No,
Yeah.
the
They're
rubble
gonna
out
grass
and
it.
they went
They're
grass.
gonna landscape
They are
that
gonna-
north side of it by
okay.
putting in a
So it's
flower
gonna be
bed, and
safe
they're,
for
Yes.
people.
yes, then their trash is gonna be screened off on the southern side.
Right.
And they're gonna use rollout carts.
I was gonna do it.
Yeah.
get that motion.
I make a motion that we approve the development agreement for Wild Tomato LLC for 2 phases.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consider a motion to accept proposal of Robert E. Lee and Associates for the Utilities CMOM program.
Okay, essentially this is something that came before utilities, was referred out to our respective boards. This is a capacity management operation and maintenance program which DNR is mandating. Coming to play into 2016, we're really trying to get ahead of the game by going ahead and putting this in place. It's a not to exceed amount of $9,800 for the CMOM, and then I jotted that incorrectly. The other issue is a slow change link study, but that's really more for informational purposes. It's supposed to be paid for out of operation budgets. It's fine like it is. So we're looking for approval on the CMOM.
I'll make that motion to approve the recommendation from the utility committee to engage Robert E. Lee with the CMOM study.
Second?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. And that, by the way, that does come out of the 2016?
Yes, they won't have it paid, so we can budget for 15.
15,
Yes.
excuse me. Yeah. Budget, not this year's.
They'll go ahead and produce it, but they won't bill us for it until.
Yes,
Right.
that's correct.
Moving right along.
Who made that motion?
Shane.
And who seconded it?
Becker.
Short timer. He's not short, he's next. No.
Item number 12,
Not
reporting
short,
county
he's
activities
next.
from County Supervisor Dave Wino. No report. Tomorrow's the big reorganization day of the county board, so it all starts from zero again tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll know what that all is.
All right.
It's usually quite a fun time, isn't it, Ryan?
It's the best time of the year.
So what they do is they elect chair, vice chair, elect highway committee and highway committee chair, and then there's a breakout session where a committee on committees is formed, okay? And then chair, the vice chair, the senior person from the north, the senior person from the south, the senior person from the city go off and meet and assign every position to every committee. And then come back, pass it all out for the county board for their approval. And then they conduct business after that and we move on.
Sounds like a short day, huh?
Well, can you turn it off for a second, Larry? Okay, so, item number 13, review of the financial statements, consideration of motion to approve the monthly bills. I'll make a motion to approve the monthly bills as presented in the amount of $642,455.92.
Second?
Comments? Anybody?
The debt service shown here is for the 2011 bonds, for the what was originally the purchase of the Helms property and then the Johnson property.
No comments on any of the bills?
Nope.
You guys are easy tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
JGR must not have
They
been.
weren't on. I didn't
That's why I
find
looked at him, I was like, wait.
Thanks for
I
looking
didn't
on the
write
last
it down.
page, Julianne.
Oh, now that they're approved, here's the last.
Yeah, I know.
Well, now they're going by their new name, Smith Group. Okay, committee reports. Admin has not met, at least not in public.
Yeah.
How come we have minutes?
We got minutes.
No, that's admin and conference.
Oh, and come, okay.
Bay Shore Oversight.
Has not met.
Coastal Byways.
Minutes are in your packet from March 27th. Talked about the parade scheduling, Mayfest, Fear Ball, Ellison Bay Days, Bailey's Harbor, etc. We've got it for Fall Fest and Marina Fest. I'd like to talk to them about finding a place in our park if it's not being used. Why don't we use it?
Take that to Parks Committee.
Put that in.
Got it.
Okay?
Good idea.
DCCD.
I covered last month, the last meeting, and everybody went today to the gala event, which was good.
It's nice.
Economic development. I think you saw the results of that based on the discussion tonight.
Good to go.
Finance.
We just met on that, basically.
Fire.
Any questions?
We meet next week.
Next week.
Fire district. Historical Society.
I was not there, but I have the meeting minutes. Did you get them as well? They're moving along. The membership and fundraising drive is in gear. They did a class called The History of Sister Bay, and it's sponsored by Learning in Retirement, and it was full.
It's a great group, by the way.
It is a good group, yeah. There's a lot of interesting kinds of classes. Anyway, they had one, and it was 2 or 3 hours long, and it was full and well-received, and they're thinking they might try to shorten it and offer it for other people as well. I think I'm speaking ahead of the actual minutes on that, but that was the report on it. Probably one of the interesting issues is the farm market. They have a couple of vendors that are going to be preparing and serving food this season, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to make that meeting because they're concerned that the farm market that follows the music on Wednesdays in the park is competition, and I think really the other way to look at that is it's synergistic, that, you know, you can go twice a week and that's great, so keep coming. So I'll try to attend that next time. And be very different as well. Yeah. Antiques appraisal on July 23rd there, and they're moving forward on their paid docents, and so things seem to be really ramping up for the Historical Society. They have a website that they are developing, and then they're going to train the board members to maintain it. That's it.
Library.
We met on Tuesday. The library dedication is going to be happening July 12th at 11 a.m., so if you're not doing anything, come there. We've had problems with ice on the roof. They had to have that removed because there's some leaks, and now there's going to have to be repairs. And I believe that there was an accident there. A lady tripped and fell because of the concrete, because of that. Ralph actually reached out to the lady. Very happy. He used to work in risk management, so he reached out to the lady, and that went a long way. That in itself, he asked if there's anything. All she wanted was her jeans repaired and her eyeglass case paid for. She was happy. She was so pleased that he called her. So reaching out goes a long way.
That's it.
And when is the grand opening?
July 12th.
11 a.m.
What, do you know what time?
11 a.m.
Okay.
Be there with bells on.
If I can back up 1 second. Historical Society.
Yes.
This is a question for the board. I know up at Gateway Park, we have the old school building. Has there ever been any discussion about what is to happen to that building once DOT comes through?
Yes, I'll try and be very succinct.
Be brief.
Historical Society was asked 3 times if they wanted that building. We offered to move and pay for it.
Okay.
Okay? 3 times they said, no, absolutely not, no part of it.
Okay.
So we sold it without any provisions thereof. If they want to do anything with it, they should talk to the new owner.
Okay, so that building is no longer ours.
That's the old schoolhouse.
It's the old schoolhouse building.
No.
You're
I'm talking about.
Oh,
the
original
log
the
building.
log
Yeah,
cabin.
log cabin building.
Would
Yeah,
they
I know
like-
that, we know that.
Would they like it?
I've been approached, yes.
I think we should offer it to them,
Okay,
my personal opinion.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
okay.
Or put it
That
in
one's
the park.
movable.
Yeah, okay.
It could cost $5,000 to $10,000 to move that, just so you know, though. Those cottages.
They have a lot of endowments, don't they?
They
Yeah,
might
they
have some
might
funds.
be willing to do that. Yeah, they have paid for some. Some of them they get paid for to move. The last 2 cottages, I think, were about $7,500 for the 2 cottages from, north side of town. This is half the distance, but there's permits and there's.
Maybe we got the DOT.
They can, how much time do they have?
About a fall of 20, summer,
A little over a year.
yeah, about a year.
Okay.
That would be a good fundraising event.
Summer of 2015.
Yeah.
Is, when they're selling pie at the Marina Fest or all summer long, is to put a bucket out for help
Moving.
us moving costs for the,
So we're open to it.
Help us save the building.
Joe?
You're sure you don't want to put it somewhere on the waterfront for a visitor center or anything like that?
oh, I don't know, I'm open to suggestions as opposed to just demo it though.
John,
I don't want to demo
the
it.
suggestion was it become the new Marina building.
And that would be an improvement.
We're moving the bathroom.
Perfect. I would die for that.
There's already a bathroom building there, we have to move too.
Yeah, that's it.
We got 2 bathrooms.
Hey, man, why not?
His and hers, there we go. The girls and the boys.
That settles a
Will
lot of
become
issues.
the destination marina with that.
I don't know if that's a
Trough?
destination.
I just have a drop.
Okay.
Guys are on the outside of the back, ladies have the inside.
We'll give them the same.
Marina and Marina's Fest.
Marina minutes that are in your packet are from the last meeting on, or from March 18th meeting, which we commented on last time. We did meet on April 8th. The main thing on that the Marina meeting is we have gotten some bids and are in the process of it, repairing and upgrading our bathrooms at the Marina. What we've had Wendy doing is trying to submit to finance to release the $25,000 to Marina to put air conditioning units into the boaters' bathrooms, new countertops, and new stall doors as well as shower doors. At the same time, we have work that needs to be done on the public bathrooms that even though that's going to be considered probably part of the Waterfront Advisory Committee portion, while we have the guy doing the countertops, or not countertops, but the
Stalls.
dividers and stalls to fix that one, repair that one, and put new tile on the other public building. We'll separate that out and see if we can get somebody else to pay for it. But we submitted to finance to try to release the funds. We think we can get that all done for, in that $25,000 range.
Parks.
Open air market concept moved forward.
Market concepts.
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing came out of that meeting. Wednesdays, 3 to 8, and Thursday mornings, 8 to 12.
I will say this,
And,
you had, I don't know if anybody else has heard this or anybody said anything, Zeke has a WSBW show every Monday morning at 10:30? 10, where he's asked a number of questions about different things going on in Sister Bay. And today, it was about the market. And I had 4 people call me and 2 people text me about they heard you on the radio and were interested in what did they have to do.
Very cool.
So I texted them back the village number. And hope they got the idea.
What radio station is that?
WSBW, yeah, every Monday we're on there. It's good.
You know what the call number is?
Every week, 105.1.
Oh, we'll have to turn that on.
Every week they talk about something different. And it's issues that Zeke basically directs. So,
Positive PR.
Yeah, talk about the marina with you.
When we start changing the bathrooms.
You gotta change your mindset, it's the destination marina, you know? I know.
It is.
I know, it is. So,
item number 14, Plan Commission.
Met recommended, we passed everything except the other stuff, we're good.
I skipped personnel because it had not met.
Yep.
Right.
Tech and communications.
Coming up, got a contract signed.
But you should look up and see, that's
Yeah.
new,
Yeah.
and the screen is
Screen's
new,
new.
so it does come down on command, and we're getting there.
Fancy remote, the whole bit.
And Pam Brooker Zoom, whatever that. SBA,
Same one you found. Minutes are included.
Teen Center,
It has not met.
Tourism Zone,
Canceled last month.
Utility,
Had a meeting. Minutes are in the packet. And I think we need, we set a tentative date for the ownership meeting, and Liberty Grover, at least Frank Orkert, is under the impression that you owe John Lowry a call, Dave.
We've
tag your, had
had that conversation.
the
Oh,
conversation.
all right.
I also spoke with Bud today. Admin and compensation oversight.
I think nothing that we should report at this time, but it has met. I'm still working on issues.
Right, at the moment, just so you know, the committee is still gathering information, understanding what currently exists, talking about what possibilities are, still kind of trying to get our arms around it.
Okay, is that next meeting this Wednesday or next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, all right, I've had it this Wednesday for some reason, but okay.
Waterfront oversight.
We're supposed to meet tomorrow, the meeting is canceled. We've still got to gather some information before we can meet and move forward. That, we got to have some money.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Could we hold that motion for just 1 second?
Okay.
Because I have something else in number 14. Discussion regarding matters to be placed on a future agenda or referred to a committee, official, or employee. Committee appointments are due in May, which affects each one of you sitting at the table here. So would you please get back to me what you would like to do with your current committee appointments, future committee appointments, what you'd like to be on, what you don't want to be on, so I can begin to make those decisions. And it's my responsibility under ordinance or under law to compile the appointments to all the committees, and then I bring it to the board for board approval.
Confirmation.
I'm sorry, confirmation, not approval.
When do you need those by, Dave?
At least 2 weeks before the next board meeting.
Thursday.
Is there something on there about that event, or is that part of the other motion?
Which you know,
The one where you said Park should
that should,
investigate?
Yeah, it's already been out, yeah.
Okay, so what do I say?
Just a 4th of July event.
For the
refer
voting
to board.
plan. And if you don't get back to me, then I'll just make the assignments. You might not like it. You might love it. Now, Ms. Absher, you were in the process of doing something here.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting, please.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Could I have a roll call vote?
No.
Where's my glasses?
Just kidding. All in favor?
Aye. That's 2 in one night, Pam.
I know.